Hi guys, this is Sadek from Build.Prop, and in this video, we'll show you how to make changes to the Build.Prop file on your Android phone with and without root. So up until Android 9, you could easily make any changes to this file without the need for root. But from Android 10 plus, Google introduced the dynamic partition, or in short, you might have seen the super.img partition on your phone, or the ROM or the firmware inside the super partition are the system img and all the other img file. So after implementation of the dynamic partition, you might not be able to make changes to the Build.Prop file without root, but still we will try it out and see out the result. In most cases, making changes to the Build.Prop file on Android 10 and higher versions require root, and till Android 9 there is no need for root. But still, I will recommend you to try out the non-root method first and see what happens. If that does not work, then we will show you the root method and get this job done. Do note that even if your phone is rooted, then you will not be still able to make changes to this file. After rooting, you will have to carry out a few additional tweaks, and only then will you be able to make the changes to this file. I will show you all these in this guide. So with that said, let's first start out with the method to make changes to the Build.Prop file without root. I am again repeating, this method should only work till Android 9, but you may still give it a try and see if it works in your phone or not. So let's try it out. First and foremost, you have to unlock the bootloader on your phone. I have made a separate guide on the same. Do note that doing so will wipe off all the data, and it might make the warranty null and void as well. So if that's well and good, you could refer to my guide, or in short, simply you have to boot your phone to fastboot mode and type in fastboot flashing unlock command, and this will unlock the bootloader on your phone. Once that is done, your next course of action is to install or temporarily boot your phone to TWRP recovery. This is required to access the vendor partition. Since we don't have root, so we'll access the partition via a custom recovery. For that, we'll be using the TWRP recovery. You could easily get this recovery either from the official website or from the XDA site as well. So once you have got the recovery, we only need the img file. There is no need for the zip file. So once you have got the recovery, you also need to download and extract the Android SDK platform tools. So get it from here and extract them onto your PC. And these are the files of the platform tools, as you could see. Now you have to place the recovery file in this folder. So simply copy the TWRP recovery img file and place it inside the platform tools folder. Once that is done, for the ease of convenience, let's rename the file to just TWRP, and the complete name becomes TWRP.img. So with this, we have the recovery file inside the platform tools folder, and now we could move ahead. So next up, we now have to boot our phone to fastboot mode, and then we'll boot our phone to recovery. So let's first boot our phone to fastboot mode. For that, you have to enable USB debugging on your phone as well. So go to settings menu on your phone. From settings menu, go to about phone and tap on build number 7 times. You will get a prompt that you are now a developer. So go back, then go to system, and you should now see developer option. Go there and enable the toggle next to USB debugging. Let's now verify the debugging condition as well. So go to platform tools folder, type in CMD in the address bar and hit enter. This will launch the command prompt window inside platform tools folder. Let me show you once again. So just type in CMD and hit enter, and this will launch command prompt. Now type in ADB devices and make sure that you are getting a serial ID. Once you are getting this ID, you could now boot your phone to fastboot mode. For that, just type in ADB reboot bootloader and hit enter, and your phone should now boot to fastboot mode in a matter of few seconds. Let's just wait for the time frame and then we could proceed ahead. Do note that the fastboot mode screen will vary depending on the phone that you are using. I'm using a OnePlus phone, so this is the fastboot screen. As you could see, the device state unlocked means that the bootloader has been unlocked. Anyways, moving on, I will now temporarily boot my phone to TWRP recovery. If you want, you could permanently flash as well, but that is not required. Anyways, let me show you. I have made a separate guide on that as well. So in this guide, I have discussed all the situations. If you have just the recovery partition, if you have the boot partition as well, on AB partition, how to flash to RAM this, you could have a reference to my guide and get this job done. But to be on the safer side and easier side, you could just temporarily boot your phone to the recovery for one-time usage, and this is what I am doing. In that case, you don't have to check the recovery partition or the boot partition. You could just simply boot your phone to the recovery mode for one-time usage. But before doing that, let's verify the fastboot connection. So type in fastboot devices and hit enter, and make sure that you are getting a serial ID. If you are not getting any ID, then you will have to install fastboot drivers. I have made a separate guide on the same. You could refer to my guide and install these drivers. Once the drivers have been installed, use the Windows X shortcut keys and go to device manager, then expand Android device and make sure that your phone has been shown as Android bootloader interface. So this signifies that our PC is able to read the phone in fastboot mode and we could now move ahead. So next up, as I have told you, I am simply booting my phone to PWR recovery. If you want to flash it, you could refer to my guide, but as of now, let's just boot our phone to recovery. So for that, you have to use fastboot, boot, and the name of the file, which in my case is Build.Prop, and our phone will now boot to the PWR recovery just for the one-time usage. Upon the next restart, the PWR recovery will be replaced by the stock recovery. So let's just wait for a few seconds, and as you could see, our phone should now boot into PWRP in a matter of few seconds. And once that happens, we will then have to mount the vendor partition. In most phones, the build.prop file is there in the vendor partition. However, in rare cases, that file might also be there in the system partition. So we'll first try with the vendor partition, and if we get an issue, we will also then mount the system partition and then try out the result as well. So first, let's try out the vendor partition, and then I will show you how to do so via the system partition as well. I'll discuss both these cases. So in some cases, your phone might get stuck at the boot logo of TWRP. That's not a cause of concern. So first off, as I have told you, let's go ahead and mount the vendor partition, because the build.prop file is there in the vendor partition on most phone. So go to mount and check mark vendor, and with this, the vendor partition has been mounted. So let's now move ahead, and now we have to pull the build.prop file from the vendor partition of your phone. So what you have to do, you could simply copy this entire command from here, and in the CMD window, just paste the command here and hit enter, and it will now pull the file, and you should have got the file. As you could see, the build.prop file has just been pulled from our phone's vendor partition into the platform tools folder. So you could now open this build.prop file using any text editor app, for instance Notepad++. You can install this app from the website online. Go online and install this app, then right click on it and select edit with Notepad++, and as you could see, we now have the build.prop file. You could make the required changes from here, and again, on a safer note, take a backup of this file, and for example, let's rename it to build_backup, or just the back will do as well. Just make sure there is no space between that. So with this, we have a backup, and now you could open the original file and make the changes. Whatever change you want to make, just make the changes over here, and then hit the Ctrl S to save the changes. Once you have saved the changes, now comes the most important part. So now you have to transfer the file back to the vendor partition. But before that, if you have got any issue or error over here and you were not able to get hold of the build.prop file, then in that case, it means that the build.prop file was there in the system partition. So instead of this command, you will then have to use the, just replace the vendor with the system. So over here, if you got any error, then use this command, and it means that the build.prop might be there in the system partition, and the command will try to pull the build.prop from the system partition, and now you should get the build.prop file onto the platform tools folder on your PC. So once you have got this file, make the changes and save it, and then you have to push the file back to your phone. So up until Android 9, there was no issue whatsoever, but beginning with Android 10 Plus, we will now get an error message. So this is an screenshot till Android 9. The file was easily pushed and our task stands complete. But let me now show you. In my case, currently I am running Android 11. So if I now try to push this file, so simply copy this file, copy this command. So let me show you. If I now try to push the file back to my phone, let me show you what happens now. Currently I am running Android 11. So I am now pushing the file on which I made some changes back to the vendor partition. If I hit enter, as you could see, it's trying to push the file, but the ADB error is showing failed to copy Build.Prop to vendor Build.Prop, remote, couldn't create file, read only file system. So you will not be able to do the ADB push onto your phone if your phone is not rooted. So on a non-root phone, at the very max, you could extract the Build.Prop file from your phone, make changes to it, but that's just about it. You will not be able to push the file back to the system on your phone if your phone is running Android 10 or higher version. So to fix this issue, you will have to do two tasks. First off, you will have to root your phone via Magisk, and then you will have to make the system RW or mount the system RW. And in this video now, let me show you how this could be done. So first off, you will have to root your phone via Magisk. Since we already have a DWRP recovery, we could simply flash the Magisk APK file. But before doing that, let's unmount the vendor partition. And now let's move ahead. So you could now refer to my guide on how to root your phone. For rooting, it's just simple. You could refer to my guide and get this job done. All you have to do is simply download the Magisk file. Just a minute. I have given the official source from here as well. You could download the Magisk APK and get this job done. So this is my guide for Magisk. As of now, it's the latest build 26.1. So download the APK file from GitHub once you have got the APK file. So it might take some time. Once you have got the APK file, simply transfer the APK file onto your phone. So your phone should now be visible here. Transfer the APK file here. Once you have got the APK file onto your phone, go to the install section of recovery and simply select Magisk APK and flash it. So the Magisk will now be flashed onto our phone and it will only take a few seconds. So let's just wait for the time frame and then we'll proceed ahead. So the flashing could take up to around 10 to 15 seconds. And with this, the flashing is now complete. So tap on reboot and select system. So our phone will now reboot to the OS, but the rooting is still not complete. We still have to carry out a few additional tweaks. You could refer to my guide if you want to root your phone step by step. I have listed all the steps over here on how you could root your phone via Magisk. So in the meantime, let's just wait for the phone to boot up and then we could proceed ahead. So our phone is now booted. And now you will have to install the Magisk APK file in the front end as well. So launch any file manager app and then access the Magisk APK file and tap on install. Once that is done, tap on open and you will get a required additional setup prompt. Tap on OK, then select direct install and tap on let's go. Magisk will now carry out the rest of the task. Once done, tap on reboot and our phone should now reboot to the rooted OS. And with this, we have obtained root, and then only one more step is required, which we will carry out. So in the meantime, as I have told you, till Android 9, you could simply use the ADB push and pull command via a custom recovery and get this job done. But from Android 10 onwards, you will first have to root your phone and then mount the system partition RW. So with this, we are done with the first half of rooting our phone. Let me verify the same. So let's launch the Magisk app. And as you could see, we have now obtained root. So we have now obtained root, and now let's move ahead with the next step. Next up, our next course of action is to simply mount the system partition RW. So let's do that as well. Do note that there are two methods, recovery and fastboot. It's highly recommended that you use the recovery methods because it's quite short and quite easy to carry out. On the other hand, the fastboot method is quite complicated. With that said, I have made a video on both the methods and given the steps for both, but still I will recommend you to carry out the method of the recovery. Moreover, since we already have a recovery onto our phone, so that will be all the more easier to get this job done. So first off, we need to install the recovery that we have already done. Next up, we require root. So that also we have done. After that, we require the module. So download the stable build from here. So guys, we have just got the module. Let's now transfer the module onto our phone. So it will take only a few seconds. If your phone is not visible, then simply select file transfer from here and your phone should be visible. Then transfer the file onto your phone. And we will now have to flash this module via Magisk. So launch the Magisk app, then go to modules, tap on install from storage, and you just have to select this module. So tap on this module and hit OK. So with this, the module has been installed and we could now move ahead with the next step. So tap on reboot and your phone will now reboot to the OS, and then you could flash the module. So in the meantime, once our phone boots to the OS, I will show you one more thing, and that is why we should need to mount the partition. What happens if we don't mount the partition as RW and simply use a rooted phone to get this job done? So I'll show you that as well. So first off, we have flashed the module, but before moving any ahead, let me show you this thing, that what will happen if we don't mount the system partition as RW. So for that, we need a rooted file manager app. As for this video, I am using the solid file explorer. So let's use this app and then I'll show you. So let's install the app. And for your sake of understanding, let me show you what will happen if we don't mount the system partition RW. As of now, we have obtained root, so that's well and good. So agree to the terms and conditions and give it the storage access. And okay, so you have to be online. Just a minute. Let me launch this manager app. So from here, tap on the hamburger menu and select root. You will get a prompt. Tap on grant. So in our case, the Build.Prop was there in the vendor partition. So go to the vendor partition, and as you could see, there should be the Build.Prop file, which is over here. Select it and select SE text editor app. And now as you could see, you will be able to make any changes over here. For example, let's change 1 to 0. But when you tap on the save icon, the changes will not be saved. This is because the system partition is not RW. So we will have to make the system partition RW so that we could then easily save the changes. As of now, our phone has obtained root, so we could view the files, but that's just about it. You will not be able to make any changes over here, and you will not be able to make the save as well. Only the changes will be shown, but they will not be saved. So to save these changes, you will have to make the system partition RW. And regarding that, our first course of action was to flash the module. So let me show you. We have already got this module, and now you have to flash the module. Once you have flashed the module, you have to restart your phone. Once you have to restart your phone, you will now have to install the Termux app onto your phone as well. The Termux app is a CMD window for your phone, and this is required because the module does not have a UI of its own. So we will be using the module using the Termux app. So let me show you how that could be done. You could easily install all these apps from the Play Store. The Solid File Manager app, the Termux app, both of these apps are there on the Play Store as well. So install the Termux app from Play Store, and let's now install the app as well. So this is the Termux app. Let me install it, and now we will make the system partition RW using this app. The entire process usually takes around 5 to 6 minutes at the very max. So let's just wait for the time frame, and then we'll move ahead. So it's just for the one-time usage. From subsequent time, you don't require to carry out all this task. So first and foremost, you have to type in SU and hit enter. It will bring up a Magisk prompt. So tap on grant, and with this, it has got the Magisk prompt. So you will now have to launch the module. For that, type in the module name, which is RO2RW, and hit enter. And first off, it will ask whether you want to make any changes, make or install new RW. So we have to make an install. So type in 1 and hit enter. After that, it will ask you to choose a number, expansion size. So let's me choose the fourth option. In my case, I'm using the fourth option, and it will now ask you to confirm the expansion. So type in 1 to confirm the expansion. Now it will ask you to install the disable force encryption. We don't want that, so type in 1 for skip and hit enter, and it will now start the process, and the process will take only around a few seconds. So let's just wait for the time frame, and then we would move ahead with the next step. It will take around 10 to 15 more seconds for copying the partition, and it will ask enter any key to continue. So hit the enter key, and it will now ask you to if you want to remove something. So as of now, let's not remove anything. So type in 2 and hit enter, and now it will ask you to back up the original super. It's extremely important that you back up it. So type in 1 and hit enter. So regarding the type of the backup, choose the 2, which is the recovery backup, since we are using the recovery. So it will now back up the original super.img in the recovery format. This is the same dynamic partition which I was talking about earlier, the super partition. So currently it's backing up the read-only super partition which we had earlier on our phone. So it will take only around 15 to 20 seconds for the backing up of the original R-only read-only super partition, which will take only a few more seconds, and then we could make a new RW super partition. Both of these are in the recovery format, so that we could easily flash it using the recovery file, using the recovery, any custom recovery. So now it's asking us to make a new RW super image. So again, select 2, which is in the recovery format, and hit enter, and it will now make an RW, which is read write super img format, which we have to flash using the TWRP recovery, and then our system partition will be RW. So let's just wait for a few seconds. The process will take around 15 to 20 seconds. Moreover, the file size, the size of the original super and the RW super is around 8 to 9 GB. So make sure you have sufficient storage space on your phone. So please make sure about that as well. And the process usually takes around 20 to 30 seconds. It's currently making the new super img file, which is the RW file. So let's just wait for the time frame. So that is done, and now it's asking us, do you want to force disable verification? So select, type in 1, which is force disable, and hit enter, and with this the status is now complete. So we have checkmarked all the requirements. Let's verify the same. So launch the file manager app, and you should now see a new folder by the name. Let me show you a new folder. As you could see, it should be there, RO2 RW super. So open it, and there are 2 files, the super backup and the super RW. Ignore the rest of the 2 files. The backup is the backup of the super file, and is the RW is the one which you want to flash. So first off, you have to boot your phone to the TWRP recovery. So make sure USB debugging is enabled, and now just type in the command adb reboot recovery and hit enter, and your phone should now reboot into the TWRP recovery. So let's just wait for that to happen. It should take only a few seconds, and from the TWRP recovery you could proceed ahead. Okay, just a minute. In my case, I have used the boot command, so that is why I no longer have the TWRP recovery now. So what I need to do is I need to once again use the boot command to boot my phone to recovery. It will just take only a few seconds. So in the meantime, verify that you have the TWRP img file inside the platform tools folder. If that's well and good, then you could now use the command to boot your phone to fastboot mode. So use adb reboot bootloader and hit enter, and your phone should now boot into fastboot mode, and from fastboot mode we will then boot to the TWRP recovery. So initially I had used the boot command, and that is why my TWRP recovery was replaced by the stop recovery. So once again, I now have to use the fastboot boot twrp.img command to boot my phone to the TWRP recovery. And once again, I have just used the boot command, because I want the recovery just for the one-time usage and not for every subsequent usage. So my phone should not boot into WRP recovery. It should take just a few seconds. And once that happened, we could then flash the RW file onto our phone. So I have explained each and every step in my guide as well. You could refer to my guide and check out the screenshot as well. And so let's just wait for a few seconds for a phone to boot up to the recovery mode. In some cases, it might get stuck at the WRP screen. That's not a cause of concern. So if you use the fast boot method, then it will take quite a lot of time and it's quite complicated as well. Whereas the WRP method is quite easy to carry out. So that's why I have recommended this method. So let's just wait for a few more seconds and now go to install and select install image. And now you have to go to the RO2RW folder and select the super RW recovery active. Make sure to select the RW and not the backup. So select the super RW and choose the super partition and perform a right step to flash it. The flashing will now start, and as you can see the speed of flashing, it will only take 10 to 15 seconds, whereas the fast boot method will take up to 15-20 minutes. In this case, you could see it's only around 10 to 15 seconds. So the flashing is just about to get complete, and once that happens, our task will be also complete. I will show you the end result as well. So let's just wait for the flashing to get complete and then we could reboot our phone to the OS. So guys, the flashing has just about got completed, and tap on reboot system and your phone will now boot to the OS, and this time around the system partition has been mounted as RW and you will have no issues whatsoever in making the required changes to the Build.Prop file onto your phone. So I will show you that as well. So in the initial step, we will not able to do anything using the ADB pull and push command. But now after rooting as well, we were not able to make changes. But now we should not be able, we will be able to make changes onto our phone. So let's now launch the Solid Manager app. Then go to the root and from here go to the vendor directory. Now launch the Build.Prop file. And now for instance, let's change the persist RCS supported 1 and I am changing it to 0 and tap on the save icon. As you could see, we have now been able to save the changes without any issues. So persist RCS supported is now 0 and we could now close it and then relaunch it. So let me go there once again. And you could once again make the changes as you want. Open the Build.Prop file and persist RC. Let me change it back to 1 and change and hit the save icon. And as you could see, it's now easily saved without any issues. So guys, on that note, we round up this video on how you could make changes to the Build.Prop file on any Android version. Just to recap, till Android 9, you will be able to get this job done using simply the ADB push and pull command. But from Android 10 onwards, due to the dynamic system partitions, you will not be able to get this job done simply via the ADB push and pull command. Instead, you will get an error message. So from Android 10 onwards, you will have to root your phone, but simply rooting will also not do because you will also have to make the system partition RW. So after you have obtained root, you will have to make the partition RW, and only after you have made the partition RW, you will then be easily able to carry out all the changes you want in the Build.Prop file onto your phone. So on that note, we round up this video. If you have any queries, do let me know in the comment section, and thanks a lot for watching.